Guys, so what we are given in this particular question regarding Kite is that Kite is a public limited company which operates in number of industries. It has a reporting date of 30 November 20x3, right? And one of the industries that Kite operates is in shipping. Kite owns shipping vessels classified as PPE and measured using cost model, which constitutes a part of its total assets. The economic life of the vessel is estimated to be 30 years, but the useful life of some of the vessels is only 10 years. So one is of 30 years, one some of them are of 10 years, right? Because Kite's policy is to sell these vessels when they are 10 years old. Okay, Kite estimated that the residual value of these vessels at the sale to be half of the acquisition cost, and this value was assumed to be constant during their useful life. Okay, and then Kite argued that the estimates of residual value used were conservative in view of immature market with a high degree of uncertainty, and presented documentation which indicated some vessels were being sold for a price considerably above carrying amount. Broker valuations of the residual value were considerably high than those used by Kite. Broker valuation was high, right? So argued against broker valuations on the ground that it would result in greater volatility in reporting. Okay, Kite keeps some of the vessels for the whole 30 years, and these vessels are required to undergo an engine overhaul in dry dock every 10 years to restore their service potential. Hence the reason why some of the vessels are sold because of this, right? The residual value of the vessels kept for 30 years is based upon the steel value of the vessels at the end of the economic life. In the current period, one of the vessels had to have its engine totally replaced after only 8 years. Normally, engines last for 30 years economic life if overhauled every 10 years. Additionally, one type of vessels was having its funnel replaced for after 15 years, but the funnels had not been depreciated separately. So this is basically a bit of componentization kind of thing. So let's talk about residual values first of all. Okay, so in case of residual values, when we are talking about residual values, what we need to consider always is, let's talk about IAS 16 first of all. Property, plant and equipment defines residual value as the estimated amount an entity would currently obtain from the disposal of the asset after deducting all the estimated cost of disposal, right? Estimated costs of disposal. The assets were already at the age and in condition expected at the end of its useful life. IAS 16 requires the residual value to be reviewed at least at the end of each reporting year period, right? If the estimated residual value is higher than the in assets carrying amount, then no depreciation is charged. Okay. So this is the most important thing that we will apply in this, right? So in case of 10-year vessels, its calculation the residual value of the vessels with 10-year useful life is not acceptable under IAS 16. Okay. Desirable volatility is not a convincing argument to support the use of residual value equivalent to half of the acquisition cost. Right. The residual value should be the value at the reporting date, as if the vessel were already of the age and in condition expected at the end of its useful life. Right? That's how we basically consider it, right? Should prepare a new model to determine residual value, which would take account of the broker valuations at the end of each reporting period. As regards the vessels which are kept for the whole of economic life, a residual value based upon the scrap value of metal is acceptable. Therefore, the vessel should be depreciated based upon cost less scrap value of the steel over the 30-year period, right? Whereas they had said that in the above that what did they actually say was that Kite estimated the residual value of the vessel at sale to be half of the acquisition cost, and the value was estimated to be constant during their useful life, right? So after 10 years, but argued that the estimates of the residual value were conservative in view of immature market with a high degree of uncertainty, presented documentation which indicated some vessels were being sold for a price considerably above carrying amount, right? So that was their argument, but that's not how it should be, right? Because valuations of the residual value were considerably higher than those used by Kate. Kite argued against broker valuation on the grounds that it would result in greater volatility in reporting. Just because of that argument, they cannot estimate the residual value to be less. Okay. Therefore, year period. This one's same, right? When planned major maintenance work is to be undertaken, the cost should be capitalized. The engine overhaul should be capitalized as new asset, which will be depreciated over the 10-year period to the next overhaul. The depreciation, the original capitalized amount will typically be calculated such that it had a carrying amount of nil. When the overhaul is undertaken. Okay. The depreciation of original capitalized amount will typically be calculated as such, and the depreciation will be calculated as such that if this time frame would have been 8 years, then what would we do? We would have higher depreciation, right? Whereas if we depreciate it over the engine's useful life or until the next overhaul, then the value will be carrying amount will be nil, right? When the overhaul is taken, right? So at the point of overhaul, it should be zero. Okay. This is not the case with one vessel, right? What has happened with this? Mm, Not this one. Where was the 8 years in the current one of the vessel had to be replaced with one vessel because work was required earlier than expected. So any remaining carrying amount, there will be few carrying amount, right? Because right now we are estimating it to last for 10 years, but it has only lasted for 8 years. So there will be few carrying amount at the end of the 8-year period, right? So any remaining carrying amount of the engine, the old engine, and overhaul cost should be expensed immediately. Okay. So in case of funnels as well, what has happened? One type of vessels was having its funnel replaced after 15 years, but the funnels had not been depreciated separately. Okay, the initial carve out of components should include all major maintenance events which are likely to occur over the economic life of the vessel. Sometimes may subsequently be found that the initial allocation was insufficiently detailed in that not all components were identified. This is the case with funnel. In this situation, if it is necessary to determine what the carrying amount of the component would currently be held, currently be had it been initially identified. This will sometimes require initial cost to be determined by reference to the replacement cost created depreciation charge determined using rate used for vessel, right? This is likely to have a significant carrying amount in the component being replaced, which will need to be written off at the time the capitalized or the replacement is capitalized. Okay. First of all, we try and evaluate what is its cost, and then if it was identified what would be its current amount, and then after that, if that how will we determine that cost is by reference to replacement cost, and then any associated which will any depreciation. After that, you charge your depreciation, you will get your carrying amount, and then after that the carrying amount might be significant, right, in the component that is being replaced. So what we will need to do is that at the date of replacement, that will be written off, and then a new component of that asset will be, or as if a new asset has been acquired, we treat it like that, so it will be capitalized on that date. Okay, so that's what we will do over here, and then after that we will look at question number B as well. So I don't want to make this video too long for you, so yeah, so that it won't be boring as well. So if you have any confusions until now, please do comment down below. I'll be happily looking forward to answer them. Till next time,